Okay guys, in this video I want to talk to you about VAT. Now even if you're a brand new seller on Amazon, VAT is extremely important because it plays a big part in your profit margin. So stick with me, I'm going to go do a brief overview of VAT. I'm going to show you some real world examples of how it impacts profit, whether you're VAT registered or not. And also just a few points on how to calculate it quickly as well. So jumping straight into the video, VAT. There are two types of VAT. I'm going to try and keep this video as simple as possible despite the fact it's quite technical in places. The easiest way to remember it is there's Input VAT, which applies to all of the stuff you buy, so your purchases, and then there's your Output VAT, which is the VAT that is charged on your product if you are VAT registered. If you're not VAT registered, Output VAT doesn't apply. So they're the two types of VAT. So input VAT, which is the purchases, that's paid on purchases of products and services from any VAT registered business. So if the company isn't VAT registered, for example, your photographer might not be big enough to be VAT registered, then they wouldn't charge you VAT. So it's also paid on all non-EU imports. So as most of us can be importing using Alibaba, they're probably coming from China, so you will pay VAT on it at the same rate as if you'd purchased it in the UK. And Input VAT is reclaimable if you are VAT registered. So in the early days, most of us aren't VAT registered, so you just accept that it is a cost of doing business. But when you become VAT registered, it is reclaimable, and I'll show you that later on in the video. The second type of VAT is Output VAT, which is on the sales. So this is charged on the sale price itself, and it is not applicable if you're not VAT registered. So if you're not registered VAT, do not worry about charging VAT on your sale price. Now with Input VAT in mind, I'm going to show you how VAT applies to Amazon's fees, because this has caught me out more than once, just mainly because firstly I wasn't aware that it was applicable on certain fees, then secondly I presumed it wasn't applicable, and then it was, so I'm just going to run through it. The easiest way to remember it is if Amazon charge you something, VAT applies to it. That's the best way to remember this. So the first one is the FBA calculator. Now I think I've covered this in a previous video. The FBA calculator that's available online does not show the VAT, and that is actually applied to the two fees. So as part of your FBA calculation, there'll be the referral fee, which is 15% of your selling price, and then there's the fulfillment fee, which is based on weight and dimensions. So this is a screenshot from Seller Central. So if this was on the FBA calculator that everyone can access, you would just see these top two figures, and you'd be like, okay, my FBA fee is £6.50, but it's not. And as you can see there, £6.50, 20% of £6.50 is £1.30. So actually your FBA fee, if you're not VAT registered, is £7.80. So it's definitely something you need to be aware of, because £1.30 could be quite a hit on your profit margin depending on the price point that you're selling at. Other examples of the fees that it could be applicable to with Amazon, you've got your monthly seller fee, which is £30, and that's £25 plus VAT. You've got your storage fees, which are monthly storage fees now, coupon fees, PPC costs as well, which I found surprising. So I'm going to show you actually the PPC cost and how I discovered they were VAT applicable on the next slide. So this is what I found out. So this is during December, I spent £500 roughly on PPC, as you can see there. And that was between December the 2nd and the 26th of December. So £500 spent. I had a good ACOS, it's not relevant to this video, but 13% ACOS on that spend. I was very happy with that. And you can see here, these are the list of service charges that Amazon charge you. You can see this through your FBA reports. And if we look there, you can see one for £600. Now when I saw this, I was like, why is there a £600 fee? I've only spent £500 during that period. And then I clicked on the link, the £628, and you can see there the figures that popped up. The £500 23p there matches exactly my PPC spend between those dates, and then there's £100 of VAT on top. So remember, whatever you bid on Amazon on your PPC, that you're going to be paying another 20%, and unless you're VAT registered, you can't claim that back. So keep that in mind when you're budgeting and doing your marketing campaigns and working out your profit margins. Okay, so how to calculate VAT. This is actually probably the quickest slide because it's really easy. I know some people struggle with this, but it's really easy. There's a few quick things you can do to calculate VAT. So the first thing to consider is the current VAT rate in the UK is 20%, and that's for the majority of products. There are certain items that carry a lower VAT rate. For example, baby clothes is at 5%, and cycle helmets is at 0%. There's lots of other products like that. It just gives you a general idea, but most products are at the 20%, and that's the figure I'm going to use for this video, because that's the shortcuts I'm going to give you for calculating that VAT. So to calculate the VAT that is applicable to the product, all you have to do is times it by 0.2. So if you wanted to sell a product at £10, to work out the VAT you wanted to add on top of that, you just times it by 0.2. So 10 times 0.2 is £2, so your overall price including VAT is £12. If you just wanted to do it as a simple calculation all in one, just times 10 by 1.2 and that will give you the grand total including VAT. Now to reverse engineer VAT, which is quite useful because quite often you'll be in the situation where, okay, I want to sell on Amazon at X price. So I want to sell this product at £12, but how much am I actually making? This is when you become VAT registered, how much am I actually making in that scenario. So you take your £12 and you divide it by 6 and then that's your VAT. So there's £2 of that is VAT, so your list price is £10 and then the £2 VAT on top. And that's it. So you either times in by 0.2 or 1.2 to get either the VAT itself or the total including VAT, or it's dividing by 6 to get the VAT element of the already inclusive figure. Hopefully that makes sense. If not, just watch that back slowly. It's really straightforward. I'm sure you'll get it second time round. Okay, so examples are for non-VAT registered sellers. So this, I'm going to show you a breakdown of how a cost would work and the profit margins and how it all be calculated. So this is going to apply to the majority of people watching this video that aren't currently VAT registered. So imagine you are selling a product on Amazon at £20. You're charging £20 on Amazon and the output VAT on that is 0 because you've got no output VAT to pay because you're not VAT registered. So an example cost, you've got the supplier cost charging you £4 per unit. You've then got shipping and insurance. We'll break this down to £1 per unit. And then you've got the customs duty on top of those. So you take the £4 supplier cost, add your £1 shipping, then you times it by the relevant customs duty rate for that. So I'm just going to use 4% in this example. So that gives us another 20p. So in total, our landed cost is £5.20. Now because we're importing into the UK, we then have to apply VAT on top of that. So that £5.20 has an applicable rate of £1.04. So add that up and your total landed cost is £6.24 for that unit. The next thing we have is the Amazon fees. So with Amazon, you've got the referral fee. Again, you can work this out on the FBA calculator to make sure that you apply the VAT afterwards. So we'll say 15% of £20 is £3. We're going to say the fulfillment fee in this instance was £2, and then say we spent on average £1.50 to get this sale on PPC. So we add those all up to get £6.50. And then the VAT on top of that, so £6.50 times 0.2 is £1.30. So your total cost, including VAT, for the Amazon fees is £7.80, and that shows you how VAT can apply to the landed costs and also your Amazon fees. And then you do your total cost, including VAT, is a £6.24 from your landed cost plus your £7.80 for your Amazon fees, and that gives you a landed cost of £14.04 for your overall unit cost. And then all you need to do is very simply deduct that from your selling price. So £20 minus £14.04 is a £5.96 profit margin. So what I'm going to show you next is an example for VAT registered sellers, so you can see how profit compares. Now, even if you're not VAT registered yet, it gives you an idea of what to expect when inevitably you get there in, say, 6 months or a year once you get to the relevant threshold. So we're going to use the same example. So we're going to be selling at £20. But how that breaks down is £16.67 is the price, and then the output VAT is £3.33. Now to show you, based on what I was doing earlier, if you do the £20, like we said, divide that by 6, £3.33, and that is your VAT. So you can see there, that is exactly what we're doing with this example. You've already seen that the breakdown of the landed costs and Amazon fees, because they remain exactly the same. You're still paying the exact same amount of VAT. The only difference is you can reclaim it this time. So as we go into this, we can see we've got the total unit cost is exactly the same, but the input VAT we now comes into play. So we've got £2.34 of reclaimable input VAT, and that comes from the landed cost VAT and from the input VAT added together. That gives you the £2.34. So that can be offset against your overall costs. So when we do the calculation to work out your profit, you've got the £16.67. You could start at £20 and take off the output VAT, but it's just easy to start at this price. So we start at £16.67. We take off the unit cost, and then we re-add on the total input VAT, because you're going to be claiming that back. So we re-add that on, and that gives you the overall profit margin of £4.97. Now, if you compare that to the previous slide, it's about 99p different. You know, obviously it's going to vary from example to example and from product to product. But it goes to show there's not a massive difference between whether you're VAT registered or not VAT registered, because the VAT that you would be paying if you are VAT registered is offset by the VAT you pay when you buy the product. So by claiming it back, it reduces your overall VAT that you have to pay to the HMRC. So when do you have to register for VAT? Now in the UK, the threshold is 85,000. So if you hit that in any 12-month rolling period, you have to become VAT registered. If you're a non-UK resident selling in the UK and your stock is held in the UK, then you have to become registered day one, and you have to be registered as soon as you start selling on Amazon. And that applies in reverse. If you're in the UK and selling in any other European country, you have to be VAT registered in that country before you can start selling in that country. So that's it. If you're using Amazon's pan-European method, is where your stock is held in all the different European countries to get the prime benefit and the lower fulfillment fees, then you've got to be VAT registered in every single country. If you're using the European fulfillment network side of Amazon, which has higher fulfillment fees but no prime option, then you don't need to be VAT registered in that country unless you go over that respective country's threshold. So not all the other countries in Europe are 85,000, most of them are a lot lower, so just if you decide to start selling in any other European country, be aware that you may have to become VAT registered in that country either day one or when you reach that threshold. So that's it for VAT. Hopefully that clears up for a lot of you guys. Be aware of how it can impact profit margins. Be aware of that VAT that isn't reclaimable, especially on those Amazon fees. Any questions, let me know in the comments below, or as ever, you can always drop me an email, darrenlynchfba@gmail.com.